Hello, everybody. This is a very special Compliance Corner with John Hanson. We got some really fantastic news and a directive from the governor today. So I'm here with John, and he's going to catch us up on it. So, John, what happened today?
Well, the governor revised his quarantine to allow for real estate brokerages to perform necessary duties. We're looked at, I guess, now as an essential service because it could put people in positions of being homeless
Gotcha.
or breaching contract.
Gotcha. Okay. Here's what I thought we'd do. We'd take a section out of the governor's letter, and I thought we'd read through that real quick, and then we could have a conversation about it. Does that work for you? Okay. Here we go. So first of all, it says, while real estate activities along with mortgage lending activities have been approved as essential activities under the proclamation, such activities shall only be permitted, let me read those words again, shall only be permitted under the following restrictions and limitations. So the first one, it says, in-person meetings with customers are prohibited, except when necessary for a customer to view a property or sign necessary documents. B, no real estate open houses shall be permitted. So there's no change there. C, property viewings, inspections, appraisals, and final walkthroughs shall be arranged by appointment and limited to no more than 2 people on site at any one time, exercising social distancing at all times. And finally, except for limited exceptions authorized above, all real estate listings shall be facilitated remotely. Okay, John, so fill us in, and I'm going to put us together on this so we can see each other. Okay, so what does this mean for us, John?
Well, it means that what the intent is to keep us in our homes and that we shouldn't be leaving for any reason. But the governor understands that there are certain things that have to be done for these transactions to happen and that it is an essential thing to happen. So what he's saying is that if we can stay home and get the job done, we need to stay home. If it can't get done without us leaving, for example, a showing for a buyer, then we can go, but we have to exercise these safe distancing or social distancing protocols that have been outlined, which is to stay 6 feet apart, that only 2 people can go in the house at a time. So if you're the agent, you have to be there. So it'd be you and one of the buyers going in to view the home. Then you can come out, and then that other buyer can enter with you, and you can give a second tour as an example, but you can't have everybody go at the same time. And the seller has to vacate the home so that there can only be 2 people at a time seeing the home, as an example.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, now there's a lot of questions regarding other things. So let's put a framework around it. First of all, if it can be done remotely, it must be done remotely. Am I right?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, some questions have come up on Facebook already this morning. And so one of them is, okay, photographers. So what's our point on photographers?
The clarification was made that a professional photographer cannot enter the home, but either the seller themselves or you, the broker, can go ahead and do the photography until such time as this quarantine is lifted so that a professional can go in and do it.
Okay, so that's great news right there. Okay, so how about home staging?
That's a great question, and that's a hard one because the staging aspect, there's a lot of things that people don't know we as real estate agents do, right? And staging is probably one of those. So if you're doing the staging yourself as the broker, I would go ahead and say that it's okay for you to go into a vacant home to stage that home yourself, but you may not have more than 2 people going in the house at a time, and you would just be there for the purpose of, staging that, let's say, vacant home and then leaving, but you couldn't have a professional doing it.
Okay, that makes total sense. And finally, what about movers?
Well, I believe that movers are essential to this transaction. So he goes through in his letter and he explains the whole process except for the moving process. So I think that we have to assume that moving is an essential part of this, and so if the change of possession can take place later, that's probably the preferred way to do it. But if there's an urgency that someone's got to get out and someone's got to get in, that's understandable. That was explained in that first paragraph of the governor's letter. And so I'm going ahead and saying, did you hear me already stutter on that and kind of hem and haw? Yeah. Well, I'm going right out and saying that if a mover has to do it, that's okay with those social distancing protocols. So the mover or movers would be two at a time to enter the house. You've got to be there. So you gotta be dancing around, being really careful with this thing to keep that distancing and keep the potential virus out, and just get the things moved out that need to be moved out as quickly as possible.
Right, right. Okay, so a couple things I think we need to be aware of. First of all, this is not business back to normal in any stretch of the imagination. If you're going to be showing homes to a client, you're taking separate cars. Social distancing is important. So you're not going to be going in the same cars with them. Again, what John said is when you're going into that house, it's just you and someone else, one other person, then that person can come out, the next person can go in. That's incredibly important. So it is limited in what we're able to do, yet there are some things that we can do now. Another thing to remind you of, the offices still are remaining closed. This doesn't change anything about being able to go into the office. This is simply about what's allowed in a home. Am I right about that, John?
That's correct. And if there's a paper to be signed, document to be signed, don't do it there at the house. I would do that remotely by AuthentiSign as much as possible so I don't have to do that. Which reminds me, anything that I have to sign, please don't send it to me to print and then scan and send back. I don't have the capability to do that from my home. So please just send it to me, AuthentiSign, and I'll take care of signing it.
Great, great point, John. Okay. Really good news, but there's a lot of restrictions to it, guys. So please make sure that you're reading the letter in full. If you have any questions at all, you can always reach back out to John. John, as always, it's always great to do our Compliance Corner every day. And thanks so much for hopping on a special weekend urgent update.
You bet, my pleasure.
Okay, we'll talk to you later.
Okay.